Have you ever played? Have you ever? Do you want to? I think we should. I would love to know what you've done. It's kind of like a bucket list, seeing how much you've already accomplished in life, or how much you've experienced. I guess is the better way to put it. So, why don't we just play a little game of Have you ever? I'll just give you a list of things, and if you've done them, you say yes, and if you haven't, you say no. Okay? Have you ever played Have You Ever? That's not really one of the questions, but I think it's pretty clever. Okay, let's start. Have you ever taken the blame for something you didn't do? Have you? I'm kind of curious what it would have been, but it's not asking that, so I'll leave it alone for now. Have you ever stayed up all night by yourself? I wonder what someone would do staying up all night by themselves. Like, what would they even do? Watch TV? Watch a movie? Because I'm assuming you can't answer if you actually stayed up with someone else you were talking to. Next one. Have you ever stayed up all night with other people? Have you ever drank something from straight out of the carton? I gotta be honest, you haven't lived until you've done that. Have you ever felt like you were going to pass, like forever, permanently? Have you ever made up an excuse not to hang out with someone? Have you ever been forced to sleep with someone? Have you ever burst into tears for no apparent reason? Have you ever eaten a whole pie or cake by yourself? Have you ever waited an entire night for someone to call? Have you ever got stood up on a date? Have you ever fell asleep in the movie theaters? Have you ever let your friend borrow more than $50 from you? Have you ever spilled a whole bowl of burning hot water on yourself? Have you ever spent the entire day on the computer doing surveys? Have you ever looked through old photographs? Have you ever felt sad just because you heard someone else's name in conversation? Have you ever started reading a book that was so terrible you couldn't finish it? Have you ever lost your voice for more than a day? Have you ever spilled a drink on someone else? Have you ever watched a marathon of your favorite TV show? Have you ever done the 5,000 question survey? had someone say something you didn't think was true, but agreed just because they're cool? Or have you ever, something else stupid like that just to get more people to like you? Have you ever partied so much you couldn't remember what happened the night before? Have you ever screwed up with someone so badly they haven't talked to you since to this day? Have you ever spun around until you were dizzy and fell over? Have you ever wet your pants past the little kid ages? Have you ever known or know someone with a terrible disease? Have you ever babysat for the most annoying kids in the world? Have you ever enjoyed yourself doing something you thought would be boring? Have you ever thrown a fit because you didn't get your way? Have you ever got a Christmas present you hated? Have you ever had a tea party when you were younger? Have you ever had your period leak through in public? Have you ever screamed something perverted out to a total stranger? Have you ever did a dare that got you in trouble? Have you ever wrote a sappy love song or love poem? Have you ever given someone a fake phone number to someone? Have you ever carried more than $500 on you at once? Have you ever found out your parents read some of your direct messages, your DMs? Have you ever made up your own language? Have you ever worn underwear for more than a day without changing it? Have you ever bought something without trying it on and then ended up hating the way it looked on you? Have you ever felt bad about telling someone the truth, so you lied? Have you ever ripped your pants while trying to do the splits? Have you ever been so scared that you had to talk to yourself to feel better? Have you ever went on a walk late at night? Have you ever gotten lost in the woods? Have you ever made up your own games? Have you ever laughed so hard you choked on something? Have you ever gotten your tongue stuck to a pole? Have you ever jumped in leaves? Have you ever stepped in dog waste, dog poop? Have you ever put a burning bag of watched a movie where the main character was exactly like you? Side note, if you have, I want to know which movie. Have you ever seen a movie that was boring in the theaters, so you just chilled in the bathrooms instead? Have you ever made a wish at 11:11? Have you ever fallen off a horse? Have you ever watched a scary movie, then wasn't able to sleep? Have you ever dreamed in black and white? Have you ever accidentally cut yourself while shaving? Have you ever laughed uncontrollably for half an hour? Have you ever experimented with the same gender? Have you ever made out for more than 10 minutes? Have you ever memorized all the lines in a movie? Have you ever did something stupid in public and then had everyone staring at you? Have you ever taped the kick me sign to someone's back? Have you ever thrown up all over somebody? Have you ever saved an animal's life? Side note, I want to know what it was and when and how. Have you ever tried to comfort someone but ended up making everything worse? Have you ever had to sit beside a perverted guy on a bus? Have you ever thrown a huge party and then got your house trashed? Have you ever kept a big secret from your parents that they haven't found out yet? Have you ever told a joke that nobody thought was funny? Have you ever dated somebody who was 3 or more years older than you? Have you ever had an awkward confrontation with your most hated ex in public? Have you ever fought with one of your friends in public? Have you ever had someone use you for something like money? Have you ever been honked at by some guy when you were walking down the sidewalk? Have you ever been attacked by an animal? Have you ever been walked in on when you were changing out of a bathing suit? Have you ever had an after-school detention when you had big plans after school? Have you ever pretended you were cold just so your boyfriend or girlfriend would cuddle with you? Have you ever ambushed someone with water guns and sprayed them? Have you ever been the only sober one at a party? And last but not least, have you ever laughed at the completely wrong time? There was 100 of those have you evers. How many have you actually done? How experienced are you? How much have you lived? I guess you can now say, from the beginning question, have you ever played? Have you ever? Now the answer is yes.